Hello and welcome everybody to today's episode of the JBA All-In Podcast.
Our podcast is currently streaming on Podbean and YouTube. The JBA All-In Podcast is your one-stop sports shop podcast for news around the sports world.
My name is Jack.
My name is Brendan.
And we are very excited to bring you the newest breaking news in the sports world. We have a very packed lineup of segments today, so let's jump right in.
It's time for the hot topic, everyone.
And first, for the hot topic, the NFL has shipped out the face shields for all the NFL teams. Brendan, what do you think about this?
Well, there are many player reactions to the NFL face shields, including reactions from J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, and Russell Wilson. J.J. Watt tweeted after the design was released by Oakley. He said, quote, "The designer of this has never played football outdoors in Texas, ... unquote. Aaron Donald said, "Honestly, I probably won't even put that on. I need air when I'm out there running around and breathing with them long drives and stuff. I feel like we're out there, we're playing up close, there's nothing you can really do. If a guy got it and I tackle the guy, then I probably got it because he is going to be sweating and spitting and slobbering all in my face. So hopefully these guys are just doing what they need to do. The shield, they say it works, but I don't really think it would. Because the way football is played, like I just said, that's on guys doing what they need to do the right way outside this facility. As long as guys do that, we'll be fine." And Russell Wilson said, "That's going to be crazy if the NFL requires face shields. But, you know, we're already out there, so it's a little bit late maybe for that." So clearly, there's a bunch of negative reactions to the NFL face shields. I mean, the design, it's interesting. I mean, obviously it's kind of constricting because, you know, it might make it a little bit tougher for them to breathe. I think if it's mandatory, it definitely won't be good. I think it's nice that they're going to make it optional, so then players have a choice of whether or not they think it's right for them to wear the face shields. Because like Aaron Donald said, Aaron Donald thinks it's not going to make a difference. You know, J.J. Watt says he just thinks it's going to be really, really hard to, you know, breathe. And Russell Wilson, he has been wearing it every day in practice, but he says he thinks they shouldn't make it mandatory. So hopefully it's not mandatory because as of right now it's optional. And hopefully it stays that way because I think players should have a choice of whether or not they are going to wear the face shields.
Yeah, I agree because I'm not a scientist, but I don't know if it's going to work or not, but player safety is the most important thing at this point, and I kind of agree with Aaron Donald. I don't know if it's going to work completely because football players are sweaty, like he said, so I'm not 100% convinced, but if the players opt out because of it, it's probably for the best because player safety is the number one concern right now because you can't have football without healthy players, and we all want them to be healthy for their families and for themselves. So making it optional is good because it gives them the choice, but you know, I'm not 100% convinced if they're going to work or not, but whatever the players decide is probably for the best.
Yeah. Alright, let's move to the next part of the hot topic. The NFL announced it has suspended free agent wide receiver Antonio Brown for the first 8 games of the 2020 NFL season without pay for multiple violations of its personal conduct policy. Antonio Brown, aged 32, is eligible to participate in all preseason activities with any team he signs with and return after the team's 8th game. Brown spent most of his career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He played 1 game for the New England Patriots last season before being released. He has not been signed since then. Brown has been under an NFL investigation for multiple off-field incidents. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation in June. Brown said on Instagram, "I look forward to new beginnings. I want to be the best version of myself on and off the field. I will do my best to be a great teammate. I appreciate the NFL giving me the opportunity to continue to work on myself and improve." NFL.com says the suspension is related to Brown's no-contest plea to burglary and battery charges and accusations he sent intimidating texts to a woman. So, Jack, what are your thoughts on Antonio Brown's suspension? Also, do you think he will ever play another snap in the NFL ever again?
You know, I think the suspension is necessary punishment. You know, the duration, I think it could be longer, but it's really not up to me. But another snap in the NFL, I think he could make a comeback. He's getting older, but I'm sure he's still a stellar player. If you've seen him like work out recently on on YouTube and stuff, you can go look it up. I just think if he wants to play another snap, he needs to get his stuff together because right now it's not looking good. It's not looking so good for him. If he really wanted it that bad, he'd probably be like working harder, not doing any of these stupid things that he's doing right now. But another snap, it's hard to say. I think he could play another snap, but the question is who's gonna take him because he has caused a lot of drama on the field and off the field, so I think it's going to be really tough for a team to deal with him. But I think he could possibly play another snap. But if you think he would, what kind of team do you think would take him on? Do you think it'd be like a team that already has a good wide receiver core? Or do you think it's going to be a team that's in need of some help?
If a team were to sign him, I think it'd be a team that needs the help, but they're probably going to have some other good veterans on that team because they're probably not going to want to bring Antonio Brown in as an example for young players,
Yeah.
This is an example like the Seahawks have been rumored. Like, Tyler Lockett's a good veteran mentor for guys like DK Metcalf, and bringing Antonio Brown in wouldn't be the most terrible thing because, Russell Wilson is a great, like, quarterback in terms of intangibles and all that, and Pete Carroll's also a great coach with a great mentality. I think he'll be able to manage Antonio Brown, maybe, but it's all about a team just has to give him a chance. I'm not saying they should give him a chance, but if a team does give him the chance, either he'll show that he has done what he said and said he's going to look forward to new beginnings. If he does indeed uphold on his word, then the team that gives him a chance, that's good for them. They'll get maybe a good couple years out of him of good football. But then if he doesn't, I think he has one more chance to prove himself.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you because how rookie needs a good coach to be able to develop them most of the time. I mean, sure, there's those rookie standouts that, like, they're just naturally talented. I mean, all rookies are talented somewhat because they're in the NFL, but a lot of the time you need a good coach to, like, take the potential that the rookie has and really turn it into something. I think this is the same for Antonio Brown. They need a good coach who has experience to be able to turn his attitude and his actions around so he can become a good player and really like a good person again, so he's not really a hindrance in the locker room.
Yeah, I think this is also a good example of how talent isn't everything in sports. A lot of it is just your mentality because you're not going to go anywhere with just talent. You have to, have the right mentality in order to go somewhere with that talent.
Yeah, like you could be the best in the world, but if you don't work hard, then you're not really going to go anywhere.
All right. The NFL opt-out deadline was a couple days ago, so we're just going to go over a couple of the notable opt-outs that happened, and we might, elaborate on some of them. We're just going to list off all the ones we think will have a relatively significant impact on the team, and then we'll go more in depth on a couple of them. All right, so Vikings defensive tackle Michael Pierce.
Bears defensive tackle Eddie Goldman.
Bills defensive tackle star Lotulelei.
Chiefs offensive guard Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Chiefs running back Damian Williams.
Giants tackle Nate Solder.
Patriots tackle Marcus Cannon.
Patriots linebacker Dante Hightower.
Patriots safety Patrick Chung.
Packers wide receiver Devin Funchess.
Dolphins wide receiver Allen Hurns.
And Jets linebacker C.J. Mosley.
One of the more notable players on this list is Damian Williams of the Chiefs, but we did already cover him, so we're not going to cover him this episode. But what we will go over is one of the big standouts of this list is that the Patriots had a lot of players on this list. They had 3 players on this notable opt-out list. They had 8 players total to opt out, the most in the NFL. They've taken some blows from this whole opt-out thing, but the 3 players that were on the list that we compiled were offensive tackle Marcus Cannon, linebacker Dante Hightower, and safety Patrick Chung. 2 really good players on the defense there for the Patriots. So, Jack, how do you think this affects the Patriots?
So, after the Patriots got Cam, it was really hard for me to pinpoint whether they were going to be a playoff contending team or whether they're going to have to go into rebuild mode. But I think after taking these losses, especially on the defensive side, it's going to be tough for the Patriots to really bounce back and make the playoffs this season. And it's going to be even a rougher ride than they're going to have without Tom Brady because they've always been a good defensive team because, in my opinion, Bill Belichick, the best coach of all time, has really been able to whoop their defense into shape. And Tom Brady's really had that help on the defensive side his whole career. But with these losses, I think it's going to be really tough. Yeah, I think it's just going to be really difficult for the Patriots this year. With Cam Newton, I personally believe in Cam Newton. I know that you don't think that Cam Newton's going to be able to carry them anywhere, but when you see Cam Newton's been working hard, he's been wanting this for so long, he's been wanting another chance. So I think that they're pretty good on the offensive side, but taking a hit on the defense, I think, really lowers how good they are overall as a team, and I think they are not going to make the playoffs this year. But knowing Bill Belichick, you really can't write off the Patriots this year, but when Tom Brady left, it really marked the end of an era for the Patriots, and I think they're going to have to start rebuilding very, very soon, if not now.
Yeah, you said I'm not really that big of a believer in Cam Newton. That's not a knock on Cam Newton to say that, but I just never really thought the Patriots were going to be a playoff team before they got Cam and after they got Cam. Not nothing wrong with Cam Newton. He's definitely an upgrade over Jarrett Stidham, a big upgrade. I think Cam Newton's a good, talented quarterback, but I don't think he's a big enough change, and I don't think he's necessarily good enough to be able to carry the Patriots to the playoffs. Tom Brady and Cam Newton are two totally different players. I mean, Tom Brady was able to win with this team for so long, and in the past couple of years, he hasn't had the same amount of weapons that he did in their more early and late 2000s and early 2010 years. So Cam Newton, I don't know if he's going to really be able to succeed that much with what he has. I mean, the Patriots do have some good weapons. Sonny Michel's a good, competent running back. Julian Edelman, obviously, is a great slot receiver. And N'Keal Harry looks like he could maybe have a little bit of a bounce back year after his not so great rookie season. But I just don't think it's going to be enough for the Patriots to make the playoffs. I personally think they're the third best team in their division, because I think the Dolphins are really a dark horse candidate to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be in contention. I think they're going to probably end up around 7-9, miss the playoffs. But I think I won't be surprised if they end up making it.
Yeah. With their additions, I think they've really gotten better as a team. But talking about the Patriots, don't write them off yet, guys, but I personally don't think that they're going to be doing amazing this season.
Another notable player who opted out this season is Jets linebacker C.J. Mosley. C.J. Mosley was a big piece in, kind of holding together the Jets' defense last year, along with Jamal Adams and Avery Williamson. They lost Jamal Adams. They traded him away to the Seahawks about a week ago. We covered that. And now C.J. Mosley opting out is a big blow for their defense, They've still got a good linebacker in Avery Williamson, but, C.J. Mosley played really well last year. So how do you think this affects the Jets' defense, Jack?
Okay, so you were talking about Jamal Adams getting traded, which was a huge hit for the Jets' defense. Now with Jets linebacker C.J. Mosley opting out, this is another huge hit for the Jets. Both C.J. Mosley and Jamal Adams were big parts of the Jets' defense, and they still have Avery Williamson as a linebacker, but I think this really drops them down into the bad defensive category. The Jets have never been the greatest team, and they've never had the greatest defense, but it looked promising with Jamal Adams, C.J. Mosley, etc., all those players, but really losing these two players for the season is really going to, I think, drop down how good their team is. Really, Sam Darnold's not going to get any help. The offense isn't going to get any help with the defense, which, like I said, I think is pretty bad right now. But let's just hope that the Jets can turn it around in the future, because if not, I think the Jets might have to go into another full rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets, I think they're still in their rebuild. Some people think they have the chance of, maybe getting close to cracking 500 this year. I'm not a big believer in the Jets this season, but I think they're a couple years away from being able to, realistically contend for the playoffs. I think Sam Darnold still has some ways to go, and also they need to get put up some more weapons around him and get that defense together. I mean, CJ, obviously, I think the front seven is it's pretty decent, but I think after getting rid of Jamal Adams, they're gonna want to add another difference maker in the secondary. All right, it's time to move into fast break news. The first on our list, the Lakers clinched the 1 seed in the West with their win against the Jazz on Monday. What do you think of this, Jack? Do you think the Lakers have a good chance of winning the title? I know we did do a top 10 NBA power rankings in a couple episodes ago, but how do you think their performance in the bubble? What do you think? What has it shown you? They're 1-3 right now. They've lost to the Rockets, Thunder, and Raptors. 2 of their losses all come after that 1 seed clinching win, so they're not really playing for anything. But just overall, what chances do you think they have of winning it all?
I think they have a high chance of really winning it all this season. Obviously, like you said, they weren't really playing for anything, so I don't think they were really going their hardest, probably saving it for the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about that. But, even with them probably not trying their hardest, it hasn't looked great. But, I still trust in the Lakers. I still trust in their ability to win games.
Yeah, I agree. There's nothing really more to cover on this topic. Let's move into our next topic on Fast Break News. The PGA Championship started yesterday. We're recording Friday, August 7th. It started Thursday, August 6th. It's the first major to be played in 2020 so far. I think it's good that it's being played now. I think it's great that golf majors are back. They did cancel the British Open, but, I'm very excited for the U.S. Open and the Masters coming up after the PGA Championship. Currently, as I'm speaking, the leader is, forgive my pronunciation, Hao Tong Lee and Jason Day are both tied at 8 under, and then Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele are both tied at 6 under in third. So, it's golf fans are having a good time watching the major, and I'm glad that golf is back. Just wanted to cover that in Fast Break News. And now our final topic in Fast Break News. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson reportedly bought the XFL a couple of days ago. So, Jack, how are you excited for this? Because I know you and I, we were both pretty big fans of the XFL. I was a Tampa Bay Vipers fan. I don't know. I just love the way the unis looked. And I just kind of fell in love with them. I just saw they like their team. And you were a Wildcats fan, but are you excited for the XFL? Do you think, are you excited? Do you hope it comes back? Do you hope it's going to come back successful? And hopefully that, it stays around this time, because it was having success in its season before the Corona just kicked in and canceled it.
Yeah, the XFL was actually looking great. I don't know about if they're having financial issues, but it was a very entertaining league. I went to, I think, 3 or 4 games where those was with you, and it was just a blast to watch. I really hope it comes back, and I'm really happy that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is buying it. I'm really excited for this because the XFL, to me, was kind of like the G League of the NFL. It just had a bunch of talent that they were trying to prove themselves and make it to the league, but it was just really fun to watch, and it was really sad to see it go. So I really hope it does make a good return, and I hope it goes back to the level it was when the season was still on.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that's going to be it for Fast Break News. Let's move into now a new segment called Watching You. Watching You is a segment where a player has been on an absolute tear recently, and we go over how they've been doing. So today's player is TJ Warren for the Indiana Pacers. TJ Warren, in the bubble so far, is averaging 33.8 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 2.8 assists per game, along with 2 steals per game. He also, of course, dropped that famous 53-point game against the 76ers. And then if you exclude the most recent game against the Suns, where he scored 16, he averages just under 40 points per game. But if you do include it, it's just under 34 points per game. He's shown vast improvement over what he did before the hiatus. Before the All-Star break, he was averaging 18.5 points per game, 3.7 rebounds, and 1.4 assists. After, he was averaging 19.7 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.8 assists per game. So he was already starting to improve, and then after the hiatus, for some reason, he just took off. And obviously, it's possible it could be a fluke, fluke or fortune. But in my opinion, this is more of a fortune, because I think he's gonna, not to say he's gonna start averaging 33.8 points per game consistently, when the NBA goes back to relatively normal, but I do think he'll be a consistent 20-point per game scorer maybe when the next season rolls around. Jack, what do you think?
I was wrong. First episode I said the Indiana Pacers are done, their bubble run is over, but Warren has really turned it around for them, and I think it's really promising for his career. Like you said, I don't think he's going to average the numbers he's averaging right now for the rest of his career, but like you said, a consistent 20-point scorer, playing an all-star level. I think this is really good for TJ Warren. I think this is really good for the Pacers. I still don't think that they're championship contenders, but this is really promising for the Pacers, and at least it gives them a little bit of hope in the bubble.
Yeah, he's 26 years old. I mean, and that kind of is a good lead into our next segment, Contender, Pretender. Back-to-back episodes of Contender, Pretender. The Indiana Pacers. They were 3-0 very recently until last night. They lost to the Suns, and now they're 3-1. But some of their key players, TJ Warren, Victor Oladipo, they didn't really play too well in that game compared to what they had been doing in the bubble. But the Pacers, they lost Domantas Sabonis, but they've really started turning around. They've been on fire. If TJ Warren continues to play well, I think that's going to be very good for the Pacers. Oladipo's stats in the bubble right now are 14.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, and 2 assists per game, along with 1 steal per game. The reason I'm bringing up his stats right now is because, he's definitely improving on what he had done before the stoppage of the season. But I think he needs to, if he can really, kick it in and really get back to a plus 15 point per game score, maybe even get to 20 points per game in the next couple of games before the playoffs. And in the playoffs, I think the Pacers will be really, really good. Also, Malcolm Brogdon has been very good. If he keeps what he's been doing up, I think that'll really help him out. He has 19 points per game, along with 6.7 assists, 5.7 rebounds, and only 2 turnovers. I think the real test of the Pacers is going to be their game coming up against the Lakers. We did mention earlier how the Lakers aren't really going to be playing much, but they are playing their, lead players decent minutes, so Yeah, I think that if the Pacers can get, a sound victory against the Lakers, it'll do a lot, testifying that they are indeed a contender. So, contender, pretender, I personally am going to go contender as like a dark horse. Someone that I wouldn't be surprised if they, got to the finals just on the way they've been playing. But if I really had to choose, I wouldn't necessarily pick them to win the East. Jack, what about you?
Originally I thought that the Pacers were a big pretender, but now looking at how they're doing now, I still think they're a pretender, but they're definitely better than I thought they were after losing Sabonis. I think they could make a run. I mean, obviously, as I stated earlier, I don't think they will, but there's a chance. They've been playing well. They've been playing well as a team. So I can't write off the Pacers now, but my personal opinion says that they are a pretender. Now, guys, it's time for the question of the episode. And the question of the episode is, if a team's starting quarterback were to contract COVID-19, which NFL team would be most prepared and have the best guy ready to step forward?
Okay, so I'll answer this first. So I think the NFL team that will be most prepared to have, I think the NFL team that has the best backup quarterback ready to step forward to replace a potential starter who contracts COVID-19, because, it's a real possibility. NFL isn't doing a bubble or anything, and the quarterback's the most important position in the NFL. So I think the team, in my opinion, that has the best guy ready is the Dallas Cowboys. Andy Dalton is a veteran who has won before. He's a proven winner, He's been to the playoffs 5 times. But when he's gone there, he hasn't played necessarily that well. He's 0 for 4, 55.7% completion percentage, and 1 TD to 6 interceptions. But he has gotten there before, and he has won in his career, and he's a good veteran, and he's disciplined. And I think that Andy Dalton is, a good guy that they could have step in for Dak if Dak were to, go out. He could step in for 2 to 4 games and get them a 500 or plus 500 record, depending on who they're playing. I really do think that he is the best guy in terms of backup readiness to step forward and make a difference.
And my personal pick for this is going to be the New Orleans Saints with Jameis Winston. I know that you personally believe that Drew Brees is an MVP candidate, and, I don't think he's going to win MVP, but I think he really is in the MVP race. But if he were to go down, he is getting older, he's more injury prone. I think that Jameis Winston can step in. I'm a firm believer in Jameis, probably one of the only ones out there. He's still only 26, which isn't that young, but he still has a lot of time to turn his career around after, obviously, 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I think the problem with Jameis is he wasn't getting the right coaching that he needed. I think that Bruce Arians just kind of neglected Jameis, just threw him out after his interception troubles. And I think that with these new coaching staff, that he could really do better, and that I don't think he's ready for the starting role, but I think he will be a solid backup, because I personally don't think Drew Brees is going to get any injuries, but if he did, I think Jameis Winston is going to be able to step up and get him a few wins while Brees heals back up. So I think that Jameis is probably the best choice.
Yeah, and he doesn't even have to get injured. He could just contract the coronavirus as stated in the question. But to add on to Jameis Winston, the Saints have a lot of good weapons on offense. So do the Cowboys, actually, with Andy Dalton. And that's another reason why Andy Dalton might be one of the best candidates. And also, a good D will help Jameis a lot. I think the Saints have a great D. I think it will help him a lot. He won't need to throw 5,000 yards. He won't need to have to throw 33 touchdowns. He's only going to need to step in for 3 games. He's still going to throw picks, but I think have a little bit of help. That's going to wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you for listening to the JBA All-In podcast. Remember, if you enjoyed, to show your support by liking, following, subscribing, doing whatever to show your support based on the platform you are listening to us on. And we hope you have a great day.